I saw all the mumblings yesterday about Sony making a new handheld, and I was like, I don't really trust Sony with a handheld. And then when I read what this is actually supposed to be, I don't know. I have some thoughts, but I loved the PSP when it came out back in 2004. The DS released the same year as well, and I played both of them. I played the crap out of the PSP. Loved that thing. It did have that like proprietary memory, but I don't think it was the hugest issue at that time. But then later on, when the Vita released in 2011, that thing was a beast. It was absolutely a fantastic little handheld. But Sony decided, shortly after release that, oh, we didn't release a handheld. Or at least that's the way it seemed, because they just didn't do jack with it. It was ridiculous. That handheld was amazing, and it still is amazing. So with them kind of dropping the ball on the Vita, like the PSP sold over 80 million units. Some people would say the PSP was not a success. It was a success. It was the Vita that wasn't a huge success. I believe the Vita sold somewhere around 15 million units, still a respectable number, but just nowhere near any of these other handhelds that came out, the PSP or Nintendo's stuff, right? I mean, Nintendo's always kind of been the king of the handhelds, but other companies have put stuff out that's been quality as well, and Sony did. The Vita was excellent. It had that proprietary memory that was expensive as all hell. It started to become a handheld where it was all like Japanese role playing games, which wasn't the hugest issue for some people, but that's what I started noticing was like there's just all these little releases of role playing games. I love role playing games, but I wanted a bit more variety. I wanted actual support from Sony, and that just didn't happen. Like companies, if you're not supporting your own product, then other companies aren't going to support it as well. Just the way it works. So yeah, they kind of messed up with that. So I just don't trust these guys with handhelds going forward. But this thing on Insider Gaming, like take all this with a grain of salt, but with how many people are talking about it, it seems like this could be a reality, but it's going to be so like not important, I think, because it's just going to be a handheld that plays PS5 games. That would be amazing. Oh, a handheld that plays PS5 games, but no, remote play. Why do we need a handheld for remote play? You could do remote play on plenty of other devices. I did remote play of the PS5 on the Absolute handheld that I talked about a week ago. Like there's devices out there that could do this. So for Sony to make a new device that right now I guess the code name is Q Lite. It's not a cloud streaming device according to these guys, but instead uses remote play with the PS5, and it's supposed to have the adaptive triggers, which is kind of cool. I give it that. It's kind of cool. They got some other features and specs listed here, but if that's all it does is just remote plays with the PS5, what the hell is the point? I don't need it. I don't want it. I'll tell you right now, if they release this Q Lite, whatever they call it, if it was not just remote play, if that was just a feature of it, but it was an actual handheld, maybe not something that they develop new games for, but if it was a history of PlayStation handheld, that would be badass. Hear me out here. If they put up a store where you could download PS1, PS2, maybe even PS3 games, or hey, maybe even link it to your, PlayStation Plus account, your deluxe account, whatever it is that they have now, the more expensive tiers where you get access to games, you could link it to that. That'd be great. But no, a store where you could buy games, download it, and play them natively. Old school classic games from the PS1, PS2, and like I said, possibly the PS3. That would be excellent. I would be all for it, man. If they had like Square Enix up on there, they put their own games on there, a bunch of third parties put their games up on there. That would be cool, and it would be something a little unique. Would there be a market for that, though? I'm really curious if they did a history of PlayStation handheld where it linked up to a PlayStation store, you could download, old school PlayStation games. Would that be something you would be interested in? I think I would be, in the sense that if it all was the same ecosystem linked up to my PlayStation account and what I purchase on this Q Lite device, I could play on my PS5, but I could also play natively on this device. I would be for it if the price was right anyway. But it doesn't look like that's what they're possibly going to be doing. I mean, we don't know. Like I said, take it with a grain of salt. But they're stating here, As for the console's physical features, early prototypes show the console will look a lot like the PlayStation 5 controller. So with those adaptive triggers and whatnot, but with a massive 8-inch LCD touchscreen in the center. The device sports adaptive triggers for haptic feedback and will include what you would come to expect from a handheld: volume button, speakers, audio input jack, etc. Obviously, right? But if you had to add storage to it, and please don't do a freaking a proprietary memory for it, that would be stupid. Like I give PS5 credit where it's due as far as expanding the storage with these, Gen 4 drives out there, because hey, the prices have been coming down. It's competitive. You can get decent sized drives for a lower price right now. Where, like the Xbox, I love the Xbox. I'm not a fanboy. That's one thing you got to understand, man. I have two PS5s. I have two, Xboxes, a Series X and a Series S, numerous Nintendo, Switch consoles. I just like gaming. I'm not a fanboy. I call out these companies on their pros and cons, the positives and negatives, wherever I see fit, because yeah, all these companies are deserving of criticism and praise. But I do give, PlayStation praise. They took too long though to allow us to expand the storage, but they eventually did, and it's working out okay. Xbox, you got to buy those little, drives, and now like Western Digital is making them, but they're still expensive as all hell, man. Like I'm waiting for the prices on those to go down. I've bought two drives, and they're just expensive, man. Ridiculous. But yeah, no proprietary memory, please, right? So they go on to state that Insider Gaming understands that the Q Lite is in its QA phase and is scheduled to release before the PlayStation 5 Pro and the detachable disk drive PS5. These are all little rumors, stuff that people have been talking about for a moment now. And always, like, right now, I'm not getting excited or like about anything. It's just speculation. It's fun to talk about these things. And if they do this handheld, we'll have to see. But they go on to state, as previously mentioned by insider Jeff Grubb, Sony is planning to announce its second phase of the PS5, which was in reference to its future game slate. Ironically, though, the second phase is very much true for Sony's hardware offerings, with the new detachable disk drive PS5, Project Nomad, wireless earphones, Project Voyager wireless headset, and the Q Lite handheld, all scheduled to release within a very short period. It's understood that the PS5 Pro is aiming for holiday 2024. All right. So this is supposed to be like adaptive streaming up to 1080p, 60 FPS, and it will require constant connectivity to the internet. I don't know about you, but a lot of people don't like constant connectivity in order to use the device. So I think if this is what it releases at, sure, there will be people who buy it. If it's just a remote play device, people will buy it. There is no doubt, but not enough to where it really makes any kind of impact. If that's all it is remote play. I think the thought behind this from Sony is we don't want to do a cloud-based device, because then people are going to want to play, Xbox Game Pass on there, xCloud, stuff like that. And that's a no. We ain't allowing that. So I understand that part of it. But like I said, my thought of what a badass handheld would be, because I don't trust them doing something that would require more support of making new games for it, because they would just flounder that opportunity. They wouldn't do it. The Vita, they just dropped the ball on it like within a month or two after it came out. Freaking sucked, man. But if they did this history of PlayStation handheld where you could download all those old school games, I would be for it, man. I don't care about the cloud stuff. Okay, I can't play Xbox games on a PlayStation handheld. Fine. I don't care. Remote play, cool. Maybe I'll use it occasionally. But yeah, do that history of PlayStation. That would be badass, man. Let me know what you guys think. Would that be something you would be interested in? Or is this just, no point at all? I kind of am leaning towards if they do release it as a remote play device, there's really no point. It's not gonna do any kind of respectable numbers, but that's just my thoughts. Let me know what you think. Thanks for watching. Bye.